hard worker, a self-starter, self-motivator. When he has his eyes set on something, the man goes and get it. Those are just a few traits that describe this individual. And in a minute, we'll be diving into the portfolio of NBA champion Tristan Thompson. You're in the Enterprise Zone at the Nasdaq. Hello everyone, it's Jabari Young, senior writer at Forbes, and I am here at the Nasdaq, joined by NBA champion, 14-year pro, Tristan Thompson, right? Last played for the Cleveland Cavaliers, spent time with the Los Angeles Lakers, Boston Celtics, Chicago. You didn't want to play in Philly where I'm from, but that's all good. You're a free agent. We might get you. We might get you this offseason, man. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. I love the energy. I could tell you have this former sports background with how you do the intro, so I like this.
I appreciate that,
I like
man.
it.
Yeah, we dab a little bit in the same league.
Yeah.
You got a little bit more money than me, but you know. Hey, man, listen, we're here at the Nasdaq, so I always like to ask guests coming, man, give me a stock. What has worked well for Tristan Thompson? What are you looking to buy, or something that you sold that you still can't believe you made that much money off of?
I mean, you know, the stock that I love is anything that's AI and tech related, right?
Yeah.
I think that's just, you know, the narrative right now. Obviously, you know, we've all bought, you know, I've been with Nike for 14 years, so I definitely bought some Nike stock. Yeah. So I'm never gonna hold on to that, right? Yes. So any partnership that I have that's a company that's publicly traded, I'm definitely gonna buy stock, right? You gotta invest in yourself.
That's right. Yeah. You know, that's so funny. I still have not gotten any Nike stock. I don't know why. I should have. Because
I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, man.
I was wearing a pair of them like the other day on the plane, and I'm like, I still haven't done that. And they always say you're supposed to invest in the things that you wear and you produce. So,
yeah. So whether it's Nike, or you drink chai tea lattes, or you like McDonald's, whatever it is, you gotta own what you consume.
Got to get some of that, man. Yeah. Well, listen, a lot has been going on in 2025, man. And you know, you got wars going on, you got tariffs and all that stuff. What has keeping Tristan Thompson motivated? Give me the soundtrack to your 2025. What's the music you've been listening to keep you positive and creative?
I mean, for me, you know, I'm a big R&B guy, right? I'm a big slow jams. You know, I come from a household where my mom would play, you know, 90s music, you know, some Usher, Luther Vandross, Anita Baker, you know, that feel-good music, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of helped me during these crazy times in our world. But it just, you know, for me, it's just about loving, you know, keeping your family close, loving on your loved ones, loving on my children, to get me, you know, get it by day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, you can't go wrong with some Anita Baker, man. Caught up in the rapture of love, man. You can't do it. You
Come on now.
Man. You put that thing on a cleaning Sunday, forget about it, man. Well, how's fatherhood, man? Father's Day just passed, right? I hope you got some good gifts.
I mean, we get socks, right? When Father's Day, you get socks, right?
I did. You do. I got a pair of socks too. You're a girl dad too, as well.
Yeah. So you know,
I am too. How is that for you?
Oh, it's the best. I think it gives you a different perspective of life. You know, having boys and girls. I think. Well, your sons, it's more like, you know, your little homie, right? Like you're like a little brother, right? And you kind of help raise them. But for your daughter, it kind of just gives you that love and compassion element. Yeah. And I think for us, especially, you know, for me being in sports and you covering sports for a long period of time, traveling a lot, right? You kind of lose that sense of like joy and happiness. And you know, just looking in your daughter's eyes, it kind of just makes you just, even when you have a bad day, if you're losing 3 games in a row, look in her eyes. You know, it changes everything.
Yeah, they teach you how to love better, man. It's like, you know, you love better, you're a little bit more sensitive, and, you know, they could just run to you and put their head on you. It's like, oh, man, suck you right up.
Yeah, right away. Get whatever you want.
Man. Well, as your career winds down, right, you eventually decide to retire, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you walk into a 5th grade class, and, you know, it's all over, and they say, well, what do you do, Tristan? What do you want to tell them in a few years once basketball's done? When somebody asks, what do you do?
That's a great question. For me, it's more so, say, what do you do? I said, you know, of course I've played basketball for a long time, but for me, it's, you know, I want to be an educator. I want to be able to give, you know, the younger generation the tools and kind of like the free game, the blueprint, right? I think Jay-Z hits it with the album, right? The blueprint, right? The blueprint of life. Because I think, you know, for myself, I've been through so much ups and downs and whatever it may be. I think those gifts, it's only right to pay it forward, right? So for a young kid, I remember being in the 5th grade and trying to dunk the ball and, you know, want to play basketball at the highest level and have those hoop dreams, you know, doing the countdown, you know, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, having those moments. But I tell them, what I always say is that no basketball until you do your homework. I always say that. School, books before sports.
That's right.
Because without education, you can't have that success.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Well, listen, we jump into the court right fast because technically you're an unrestricted free agent. I can't see you playing anywhere else outside of Cleveland. I mean, you got the most consecutive games there. You're in the record books. You helped the team win a championship, right? And it seems like that's just home, right? I figured when I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was an NBA scout, and I said, I got Tristan Thompson coming up, man. What would you ask him? And he says, man, he's been around for such a long time, and you kind of dig into that perspective of what it takes to last 14 years in the league. But I consider you the Udonis Haslem of the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? The vet, stand there, keeping these young guys coming in motivated. Is that going to be home next season?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would love to go back. I'm pretty sure we could figure something out because I think, like you said, I've done so much great things, not just for the Cavs, but for the city of Cleveland, that they appreciate. Dan Gilbert and his family, drafting me at 19 out of Texas, and really just having me be cemented in part of that legacy and part of that Cavaliers DNA, like you said, kind of being that Udonis Haslem role. So, for me, the way you get to this moment and this point is not just skills. I think it's just your character, right? I think people take that for granted, but it's like any job, right? We spend more time with whoever our coworkers are than our immediate family. They become your family, right? And it's like anything. You don't want to go to work every day with someone that you don't like, right? So, talent's going to get you.
It depends on how much I'm getting paid. I will do it for a certain amount of money.
I get it. Yes, of course. But at some point, right, when talent diminishes, character becomes more important.
Yeah.
Right? So as your career gets older, listen, would I want to be like Jared Allen, be jumping out of the gym every day? Absolutely. But my kneecaps, the bounce back time the recoil ain't the same.
Yeah.
So how do you make yourself a valuable asset to a franchise that makes you, that they can't replace you? And then for me, it's more so my wisdom, my mind, and just my work ethic. Coming in every day, whether it's lifting, treatment, getting on the court, showing them what it takes to be a pro at 14 plus years, right? That's, I think, just as important as your rotational guys that are playing 20 plus minutes a night.
Yeah. Do you have an end game in mind? I was at CJ McCollum was up here the other day, and we were talking, and he says, he probably would play another 4, maybe 5 years or something like that. Do you have an end game in mind? Is that already in your mind already, or are you not thinking about it? Because they say if you're starting to think about it, then you should maybe start to quit.
Yeah, no, I think this is how I approach the game, right? And when I stop getting upset about losses, then I know it's over. So I still get frustrated. Even if I'm not in the game, I still get frustrated after a loss. I still get upset and don't want to talk to people and tell people, just give me a minute. So I know the love is still there. So I want to keep doing that for as long as I can. But obviously, like Father Time, at some point, that chapter does close. So for me now, I've always leveraged and positioned myself so when that time does come, I'm not just sitting with my hands empty. I have something to transition to right away.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, listen, the NBA draft just passed, right? I mean, the season's over. OKC Thunder champions. By the way, I'm going to hold you accountable because I was listening to an interview you did, and you had actually picked the Pacers to win Game 7 in Oklahoma City. And I'm thinking to myself, Tristan Thompson knows better. He's been in Oklahoma City plenty of times as of high. You know how hard it is to win in that place, and yet you picked the Pacers to win a Game 7. Now, Tyrese Halliburton did go down, and so that did change the fortune of things. But even if he was healthy, they wasn't going to win that game. That's Oklahoma City. You know how crazy the fans are.
You're right. Oklahoma City is definitely a tough place to play. And listen, Shea, SGA Shea, from Toronto, from the city, been a little brother to me. So obviously I'm so happy for them and congratulate them on winning, and they deserve it. For me, when it comes to Game 7, I put myself into the perspective of what it takes to win a Game 7, right? Veterans and strong coaching, right? One thing about Rick Carlisle, we've seen him do it at the highest level, especially with the Dallas Mavericks, with a team that was less than, beat a juggernaut. Yeah. So I was betting on more so of the DNA and the character of the Pascal Siakam, who's won, the Rick Carlisle. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton had 9 points in 7 minutes, so he was on a roll. Unfortunately, with that injury, it changed the whole dynamic of the game. So I did have the Pacers because, when it's Game 7, I like to take veterans.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, I will give you that because you need people to know how to win on the court in pivotal times. But it was good to see the Oklahoma City Thunder win because, that town is very special. They got a fake river walk down there. I always tease them with San Antonio. But it's all good, man. But, listen, again, the NBA draft just passed. And, I went back to something you said in 2013 when you was, they had Rookie Chronicles, Rookie Tales. And you said, I think the hardest basket to get is the first one of your rookie year. That first basket is something. You're kind of searching for it. If it doesn't drop, you just need a layup, you need a dunk, you need something, but it's so hard to get that first basket once you get, into the league, right? What would you tell these incoming rookies coming in now?
I think you just don't overthink it. I think just be yourself, right? I think there's a lot of nerves your first game because, like you said, you are searching for it. You're searching to make that impact, especially, these lottery picks, right? They feel the pressure. The reality, there is pressure. There's pressure to perform. There's pressure to, change a franchise in the right direction, right? So what I tell them is that, just dive into the game, just dive into the game and just dive into the moment, right? Don't think about the outside accolades or the pressure. Just dive in. And for me, it was that first dunk, right? That first dunk or layup makes it so much easier and smoother. What I will say is that for guys, don't try with a 3, because I've seen some other rookies try to score the first basket with 3s and they've never made one for like 15 games.
It's hard to tell a young generation at this stage, though, because they're shooting 3s nonstop. That's why I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because he utilizes the mid-range game like effectively. DeMar DeRozan is another one, but you know, and it really is hard. I can imagine you getting drafted and you want to score that first bucket, you know, do something nice, but you know, miss all your shots and then you 0 for whatever like that. Do you remember your first bucket in the league?
Yeah, I remember exactly. We played against the Raptors, so me being from Toronto,
that's right.
my first game was against the Raptors in Cleveland, and I remember I dunked on Ed Davis, like a bounce pass on the baseline and got a quick dunk.
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
I remember that, because I remember the Raptors had the 5th pick. And they were, you know.
And they passed you over.
Well, I went 4, so I went before. But when I talked to them, you know, Brian Colangelo, you know, a lot of respect to him, but you know, he was saying, oh, we're unsure if you were at Davis. So I kind of used it as motivation.
Motivation, yeah. What's Tristan Thompson like in business, man? I mean, the off season's over, right? You know, basketball now is, you know, for a minute. You want to get back into it, I'm sure. But what do you like in business off the court?
Yeah, for business off the court, for me, you know, I've been diving into this Web3 AI space. You know, for me, you know, I'm a big financial literacy guy. I'm a big, you know, pay it forward and see what's next to come. And I think for sports, but just in finance in general, right? You see all the new news, the headlines, whether how much AI is becoming an asset to the working class people, also in sports, but even just the Web3 space with the finance, right? With stable coins, blockchain, you know, being adopted and being backed by, you know, U.S. treasuries, right? That's a huge thing for our economy. And that's a huge thing for our everyday people, where now it's on us, with people that have face and recognition, to give that education behind it so they understand what is going on.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into your portfolio a little bit, man, because in June you joined a decentralized platform, right? Axon, am I pronouncing that right? Axon, DAO. And this company is a decentralized science platform, right? And that aims to revolutionize healthcare. What made you join with this company? How did that transaction take place? What do you see? Why are you lending your name to them?
Yeah, well, so, you know, with healthcare, it comes close to home, right? My brother, Amari, has epilepsy. Just to give a little background, for epilepsy, 1 out of 100 people have epilepsy. For the type that he has, it's called LSG, which is short form. 1 out of 3 million people that have epilepsy have that one. So for him, it's kind of the quote unquote the most severest form of epilepsy. So he's fully disabled. I have, you know, caretakers working on the clock 24 hours, 7 days a week. And for me, you know, just going back to that story of how it happened with seizures, right? So for me, being from Canada, you know, universal healthcare, it sounds good, but it's not always the best recipe for when you have loved ones that have a specific illness, right? So for me, being able to be part of a platform that is basically taking your health data and now making it available for every one of you and review, but it's different prongs, right? I think the low-hanging fruit is that, you know, I have a loved one that's going through epilepsy, you may have one, right? For us to be able to see each other's notes and charts and be able to build that unity to talk about it, right? Yeah. To understand what are some of the treatments that you use for your loved ones to help it out, right? But also from a breakthrough perspective, right? I think, you know, with the healthcare industry, there's so many amazing people that are coming with breakthrough technology and medicine that can cure certain forms of diseases, but that person might be in Saudi Arabia and I'm in Cleveland, right? I don't have that access. And like, you know, getting your health data from, you know, hospitals, it's kind of a pain in your butt. You know, you got to get approvals, you got to get sign off, you got to, hopefully the physician's not on vacation and he can send over. So imagine being able to put it on a decentralized platform where everyone has access to it. That just helps bring us together more from a health care perspective for more breakthrough technology.
Yeah. You don't sense a danger there though, because, you know, when you put all this data out there, it's available to anybody, right? And maybe they can get it and, you know, who knows, right? We're in this very interesting time, misinformation, people using it, they don't know where they're getting their news sources from, they're just putting it out there. Every time somebody's going and looking at, and we're talking news, somebody will say to me, well, they said, I'm saying, well, who's they? And when I saw it on Instagram, like, we're in this very interesting time. Like, so when you talk about health data and putting it out there, you don't sense any danger with that?
Well, this is the one thing about being on chain, right? It's when it's decentralized, it's not that there's a name behind it, right? So if I put, for instance, if I put a sickness that I'm going through, it's not saying Tristan Thompson, this is his chart. It's putting the charts out there, but with no name. One thing about being on chain is that it's all smart contracts, it's addresses, it's numbers that create this address that builds out your portfolio. So it's not a name or a KYC where you could pinpoint it to who is exactly, but also with Axon, we also have doctors that are part of the project and profiles where it allows doctors to review your stuff, right? And that's what we really want, right? We want to be able to have physicians all around the world be able to have access to these files where they can help create breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
It's great for us to go back and forth about what things that we've done to help our loved ones have a better life, but the big thing is having these doctors have this access to see this, because you never know. What if someone finds a cure to colon cancer that lives in Kenya? We can't get a hold of them. He doesn't. There's no way to migrate our world in America to someone that has a breakthrough finding in Africa, right?
Yeah.
How do we bridge that gap? So the way we do it is on-chain and a decentralized platform that's able to allow that access, right? For me, being in the space, it's all about how do we merge both worlds, from the Web 3 to the Web 2. And with health, that's a big necessity, and it's a big essential for just the human species.
Yeah. Yeah. So with this role, right, obviously, are you an investor, first of all, with the company? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you are an investor.
Yeah, I invested as well.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, I've got
Any.
Now, what is your official title?
Well, chief advisor. So for me,
advisor.
yeah. So I think for me, it's more so how do you bridge the gap, right? How do you build this awareness, right? Like I said, any company that I'm part of, I always invest in, right?
Right.
I think you gotta.
So it's no endorsement deal.
No,
I'm an investor.
No, I'm an investor because I believe in it, right?
Right.
I understand the vision and I understand that the call of action, right? I think that's the most important thing. Whenever guys, attach their name to something or invest in something, you got to believe in what the product and the DNA of the people behind it is about. And I believe in that because, I understand the value and it hits close to home. Because I remember, seeing my mom at 2 a.m. crying because her 6-month-old son is having a seizure and is foaming from the mouth. Like that stuff that's trauma that you're always gonna remember. So for me, being in a position of power to be an MBA, right? Being an MBA has allowed me this access to meet these great people that are creating great things that can help, not just help my family, but help other families that don't have that access or resource that I was able to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're an investor in this platform, TracyAI, right? I mean, I've seen everybody tweet about it, Khloe Kardashian tweets about it and all of that. Take me inside of this, right? This is obviously an artificial Gen AI app that is supposed to help teams mine data better around players, right? What is TracyAI doing that all these other platforms, especially the NBA's involvement, that they're not? What's so special about it?
Well, I think, like we said earlier in the show, AI is being part of our everyday life, right? You see it each and every day. And then for me in sports, you having a sport background, you understand how sports is always forward thinking, but this is the one area that they haven't touched yet. I know Daryl Morey a couple months back was at a summit, and he said he actually
I heard that he built this roster off of it. I was like, that's scary to me though.
Yeah, listen, Philadelphia, your Sixers obviously had a rough year record-wise.
Very rough, and that's because he built the roster with AI.
I wouldn't say that. I think injury plays a thing, So injury, listen, one thing about humans, AI can only do so much. You can't get the guy to play. But I think that just shows you the early start of the migration, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like everyone, they want to be the first and be ahead of the curve. And for me, being in space, I said, how can I build something that's low-hanging fruit that I can relate to, which is sports, and how can I bring on-chain and tech to that? So I think with advanced analytics, right, you can go to NBA.com and you can see your points per game. And when you used to cover games, you get your little sheet of the guys' analytics, but those are very basic in general, right? But I think as the game is growing and progressing, our fan engagement, they want to know more. They want to be in the locker room. They want to know the stats and the access we have. So with TracyAI, I've pulled the APIs from all the high-level analytics that we have access to as a team, but now giving it at the palm of your hands for the average consumer to see that. And it's a three-pronged thing, right? For the consumer, being able to see the analytics and understand it, but from who's the best clutch time player? How's this analytics and stats brought up? Points per possession plus field goal percentage, time of the game, right? But also from a team perspective, how can you improve your roster, right? You can ask TracyAI, how can I improve my roster? And it's not like a ChatGPT. This is where Tracy, she's built her own brain, where she's a little on edge, a little spicy, I like to say, where she could probably say to you, if you're a team that doesn't have a good record, she'd probably your roster is far off from anywhere near being a playoff team. But here's ways that you could improve your roster with guys that are free agents, guys that you have on your team. This guy might not work for what your goal is, but it's a whole conglomerate ecosystem I'm trying to build out for not just basketball, but sports in general.
Yeah. Well, deeper look into your portfolio, man. I see 818 tequila, right? You're an investor in that as well.
818, yeah.
Yeah, Cloud Popcorn, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Cloud,
and then, Viola, right? Our friend Al, doing that thing. Crypto, obviously, you have real estate. You got any real estate out
estate as
there?
well, yeah.
Real estate. How about franchising? Junior Bridgman, God bless his life, died. Over 500, fast food restaurants. Are you into franchising at all?
I haven't got into that space, but what Junior Bridgman was done, his story, especially, what I love about his story is that he didn't have to be the guy on the court to gain that access. But that also shows and should give guys motivation in our sport that you don't have to be the franchise player to own multiple franchises.
That's right.
See how it plays on. So I think he used his resource and opportunities to open a lot for himself, and he kind of, set the runway for us where, it's unfortunate that we have a mutual contact where he was actually going to introduce me to Junior Bridgman prior to him passing. So, God rest his soul and what he was able to accomplish and put together for his lineage and his family. But he's definitely someone I look at as motivation for sure.
Yeah. Take me back, man, to Brampton, Ontario. What was that like growing up for you out in Canada?
Yeah, Brampton, it's a suburb of Toronto. Growing up as a kid, everyone, played hockey. Obviously, Vince Carter kind of changed that narrative when he came to the Raptors. And, I always remember being a kid, I wanted to play in the NBA. I remember I went to a summer camp, and one of the coaches there, during the time, he actually coached Team Canada. I remember he said to us at the camp, none of you guys will ever play Division I college or make the NBA. You guys all just go to local colleges here and just enjoy the camp for what it is. And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna remember what that guy said, and I'm gonna use that as motivation to get to where I got to. And I remember when I got to the NBA, I ran into him at a exhibition game, and I went up to him and said, I appreciate you. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, I remember what you said to me at the camp. I said to the kids at the camp, they'll never make the NBA or play Division I basketball. And really, because of you, is where I'm at right now.
Motivation.
And his face was so like, he thought he saw a ghost.
Yeah.
He thought he saw Casper. I said, not Casper, I'm just here.
Yeah. I want to read this to you, man. This was published in June 25th, 2011. Tristan is the type of kid where he only needs the door to open a crack and he's in. He's the kind of kid that knows what he wants and he will fight to get it. That was a mother's guide to glory. How did you obviously make it to the NBA? And this is your mom, God bless her life. What did you learn from your mom, Andrea? School bus driver, and obviously she passed away in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, man. What's the biggest thing you learned from her that you still carry on today?
Never cheat the process. My mom was balancing 2-3 jobs for us growing up as kids to kind of provide for us, right? She was the mom that we would drive from, Toronto all the way to North Carolina for AAU tournaments, and, she'll be driving the car, and I have my little brother, and she'd be breastfeeding him while driving, and she's like, yo, my baby, you gotta make the game, right? And so for me, it was just the hard work and dedication, the sacrifices she made, and she never cut corners. She was that person who took her, her shirt off the back for someone that she loves and cares about. So for me, it's kind of been the same thing in my career, is that, I'm all about team first. All about team first, I'm about the common goal, because winning trumps everything, but it's a process, right? To get to become a winner, it's all these steps in between, right? It's the dog days in January where you don't want to get up and work out. Those extra reps that you don't want to do. But even just from a character's perspective, where, when you walk in and you see someone, say good morning. Have manners, because, I like to use this form is that, today's janitor is tomorrow's CEO. So you never know who you're going to run into, or at some point in your life, someone that you might have just gave some positive words of encouragement might become your next business partner.
That's right.
Might become your boss. Might become someone that you might need to come to for a time of need and need to lean on them, right? So for me, that's what I've learned from my mom, is that never take days for granted, but always put the work in, because what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah, and obviously, man, that love, that affection, you obviously go on to St. Benedict, go to Nevada, into the prep school there, then Texas, and then you pick number 1, 4th overall, in the first round, 4th overall in 2011, and then obviously win a championship again. 14 years played. I want to say some names to you, right? About 5 minutes left, and you tell me one word that comes to the top of mind, right? Anderson Varejao.
Bull. He's
Love
a bull.
It. Kyrie Irving.
Gifted.
Love it. Kevin Love.
Menace.
Mike Brown, the coach.
Mike Brown's my dog. One word, Mike Brown. Accountable. Antoine
Jameson, and I only say that because he was the first vet that told you to stay consistent in your rookie season. And this man said, listen, you're gonna have your ups, your downs, you're gonna have times you feel like you belong, times you feel like, what the hell am I doing here? Stay consistent, outwork everybody on the court. When you hear Antoine Jameson's name, what comes to mind for you?
I mean, I can't even, with Twan, it's more than just one word, but if I had to pick one word, just, I mean, I would say, I wouldn't even want to think of saying it, would be like, thank you. I think, he was at a point of his career where he was starting. And the fact that he was able to see the Cavaliers' vision in terms of drafting this young 19-year-old kid that they want to invest in for the long term, and for him being, a former All-Star and still having a lot of great years in front of him, being able to understand and accept me as a young kid and give me that advice and kind of push me to become a pro and like what it takes to become a professional athlete, right? What it takes to stay in this league, show up, conduct yourself the right way, be a man amongst boys, right? And kind of grow up and mature quick. So, I give a lot of credit to Antoine James. Like, without him, I don't know where I would be today because he kind of showed me the blueprint and recipe of how to do things the right way in full spectrum.
Yeah. Two more things. I'll let you get out of here, man, because you're busy. You got a lot of crypto, blockchain stuff to worry about. You TracyAI, right? You got to continue to develop that.
Yeah.
But, we get business pitches all the time. I'm sure you see them all the time, man. Somebody walks up to you, you're Tristan Thompson. What do you want to hear from this entrepreneur if they go to pitch a business plan? What trait do you want to see?
I mean, I think with any business plan, right, I think you always want to give, the person the floor. But I love people that are hungry and believe in what they're building, right? I think that's, the hard work, even if you fail a couple of projects, I know at some point you're going to win. I think the determination, that's why I look in, when getting in business with people, I want to see how much do you have a drive and love, right? Because for me, that's what got me to my career. That's where it's got me to 14 years. It's been the drive and commitment and then like punch the clock, like be like that working ant, like be that custodial, be that custodial guy where he's going to come in, I'm going to do whatever it takes. If it means I got to squeegee the windows to make sure everything looks great, I'm gonna do that, right? So I wanna be in bed with entrepreneurs and guys that have that same drive where almost I'm not gonna let, like, they should almost come to me and say, Trish, I'm not gonna let you say no. Because I'm gonna sell you this, I'm gonna pitch this to you so good where you're gonna almost wanna be on this journey with me. Yeah. And that's the type of people I look to get in bed with.
I love it. Love it, man. I always end my conversations with Jim Collins, right? His book, Good to Great. I think I can ask you this because you went on and had a very successful career again. Not done yet. But you think about the little boy that was in Ontario writing goals on the mirror, crossing them out, right? And then you go through the trials and tribulations and then you still end up here. What's the difference between a good NBA forward and a great one?
I think you could be talented and be good, but to be great is what do you do when no one's looking? What do you do in the preparation? Are you watching film? Are you getting massage? Are you getting treatment? Are you watching games every night? It's so surprising and kind of crazy to see that how many guys don't watch basketball in their spare time. Like for me, and I give a lot of credit to Rich Paul and LeBron, was that when I got into the league, they said, and Chris Paul, they said, you got to watch the game every night. Because as a 19-year-old, you want to watch some Netflix, you want to watch all these, all these guys want to watch Love Island and all these shows, man. I'm like, no, like from being on the East Coast at 7 o'clock to the last game on the West Coast is over, my TV's only got basketball on because I want to. You gotta dive in and be a student of the game, right? You gotta, to be great or give yourself a chance, because greatness is not guaranteed, but you gotta do whatever it takes to give yourself that chance and opportunity. And then how to do that is that you gotta be really a savant of the game. All the greats are savants of the game. Think about it, LeBron. He knows all the plays in the event. He watches the game. Kobe, one of the greats, watches the game. Michael Jordan watches all the games. Steph, like the greats, they all do the same thing. Tom Brady, they all do the same thing. They dive into the sport so deep where it becomes part of their everyday life. And it's not that, you have your family and stuff, but that's who they are. Yeah. And the people around them understand the importance of that because they see the vision and goal, what this person is trying to achieve. Yeah. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I love it, man. You got to come back. We got to continue to talk Web3. Yeah. I mean, we got to go alternate. I didn't even ask you how being associated with the Kardashians, how that helps you in business. I'm sure that's phenomenal for you. But man, listen, I appreciate the time. Good luck with TracyAI, man, and everything that you're doing in the Web3 space as it continues to grow its legs. And appreciate the time, my brother.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me.
Tristan Thompson here at the Nasdaq. You might see him Web3, TracyAI. Check it all out. And also, follow his 15th season. He's coming back. I hope he's with the Sixers. We'll see.
Hope the Sixers have a better year.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.